But it'll be awesome. Okay, so here's some examples of different spun components. This is the spinning lathe. Here's the sign up for it. When you're like setting up your tools and everything, just to make sure you don't actually turn it on, you can throw this breaker if you need to. You can see this little streak on the wall here when the lathe was over a little bit more. This will be on you. So get like a nice apron, face shield, all that kind of stuff. This lathe can also function as a wood turning lathe. I put this little tool rest here so that the tools that you're working with and things like that, you can set them right here. We're starting with 18 gauge aluminum and then going to copper. More advanced, pewter spins beautifully. Oh my gosh, it's like a dream. But if you haven't worked with pewter, you don't want to necessarily get into it or anything like that. Pewter actually softens, which is counterintuitive for us. If you haven't worked with pewter, but man, it's like a total dream. With your blanks, you never want to center punch your material because a lot of these things that are the same for like hammer forming and raising, the center punch area will thin out and tear. You always want to use circular blanks. You always want to have your edge completely deburred, so if you're cutting your own circles, you have to make sure that it's nice and smooth. We don't have a circle cutter, so don't worry. Safety, you're going to use gloves, and a face shield is required for this. Professional metal spinners, I've been to a lot of different spinning shops. They look like hockey players because they don't take the appropriate safety precautions.
Oh.
All right? Just make it a point. Never touch the spinning edge. That's the whirling blade of death part. So you guys are an intermediate. I can like scare you a lot more. Like beginners, we don't want to like totally scare. I can scare you guys more. Okay, so setup. This is both for wood turning and metal spinning. You're not going to be making your own chucks. I originally had the idea this summer that you would. I started doing it myself and I was like, wow, that's way too much work. So I'm taking compassion on you guys. So to set this up for metal spinning, this is also similar parts of the lathe. This is the headstock. The motor is in here. It has a belt drive that runs it here. This sets the speed. The speed should be set for what you need. You shouldn't have to change the speed. This is the power button on and off. So there you go. This is the tool rest. This is the tailstock. Headstock, tool rest, tailstock. Head, tail. These are the ways of the lathes. So if you're going to say, well, I was like clamping the tool thingy to the stuff and it didn't, and it was loose and I don't know why. Alright, so when you were clamping the tailstock to the ways of the lathe and it didn't seem to be secured, how could I remedy that problem, James? Might be better vocabulary. Okay, so right now this is just a general cleaned kind of blank slate. To set up for metal spinning, I'm going to be going back and forth between here and that cabinet, so we'll just keep a little path here. So, just to show you where everything is. So I've organized this cabinet. These are wood turning tools that you don't need to get into. This is the setup for metal spinning. There's a variety of different chucks here. The provided one, I made two in case one of you breaks one. It's okay. We have two. We have a backup. Basically, you're going to be doing sort of variations on these little kind of like votive holder things. I do these for like community demos and like people just eat this up. It's hilarious. Okay, so we have one. We have a backup in case something happens. There's we don't have to worry about these other forms right here. This is just a form. You also need to use the Thurmanian follower block right here, properly labeled. And we'll use this for the tailstock. So this is called a live center because it spins live. It has a bearing in there, so it's spinning. Dead centers do not spin, and they just sort of rub with friction in there and heat up and are a pain. The Thurmanian follower block goes over the live center there. So this is the setup here. This chuck, this is a wood chuck. I know. So it's a different kind of chuck, but you do not necessarily need to conform your metal to this shape. This is just a general purpose sort of shape. What you're going to do is you're going to center and clamp your piece, your disc, between there. And there's a handle back here that you're going to clamp down, and that's going to tighten sort of a nut underneath here that holds the tailstock securely to the ways of the lathe. So there's a little handle out here. This is, so, that's too many vocabulary words. Anyway, you don't have to worry about this. So we want to make sure this is centered as well as possible. And it's kind of a little wiggly, so you might want to sort of straighten it out so you can see. I'm also going to have to get the tool rest and some spinning tools. So all the spinning tools are right here. We have the larger work gloves right here. I'll grab the spinning tool, and this is the good general purpose kind of spinning. It's just a polished piece of steel. See, look, I set this up right here. Isn't that nice? Now this you will have to adjust and move a lot, but basically it's a leverage game where you have these little posts that you're going to lever your tool against while it's spinning. So a little trick that you can do is by hand you can set your tool rest to see if your blank is centered. Does that make sense? So I'm spinning it and go, oh, wow, it's uniformly rubbing against there. That means I have this relatively centered. So that should be good enough. Crank that down on there. Get that nice and secure. So that should be all set. So this follower block is clamping the disc in there. This is secured here. You've tightened that down so it's nice and secure in there. I also forgot the wax lubricants. Isn't this table great? Look at that. Okay, so I made a little tool, which is, I know, but this is great. Trust me, works great. So, you guys are going to be happy for once that we have an 8 a.m. class out here. Man, is it coming off already? Wow, oh well. I'll get some duct tape on that. Anyway, you apply just a little bit of the paste wax to the blank because you want to keep the rubbing lubricated between the spinning tool and your blank right there. This is why you get this little streak of a spray. I'm going off script here. Go back to my script. Spinning chuck must be perfectly centered on the lathe, firmly locked in place. Lathe isn't moving. Tool rest and fulcrum pins able to securely hold their position. Yes, good enough. Proper speed. 500 to 1,000 RPM. We're at about 600 right there, so you don't have to worry about changing that. Mindset, use appropriate lubricant. We got the paste wax there. Your outermost edge, while spinning, should remain perpendicular to your axis of rotation. Okay? This is your axis of rotation. So like you're throwing pots on a wheel, you're sitting there, your axis of rotation is this way. The axis of rotation on the lathes is that way. Okay? So you want this lip always, as you're spinning down, to always remain perpendicular. This is the strength of your piece that will keep it from collapsing and looking like, I don't have a good one. Good crumpled one. Yeah, this is kind of crumbly, but or even this example, like this is what everybody does and thinks it's the coolest ever. All right, I'm just telling you right now. This will be new to you. It's like, oh wow, look, it's like almost a semi-regular creasing, and it's like, yeah, everybody that's ever spun has made like 10 of these. So don't get too excited. Sorry, don't want to crush your dreams. So this happens typically when you don't maintain this outer edge perpendicular to your axis of rotation. I'm still getting used to this work table up here. I'm liking it. Center the blank. Seat the part solidly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seat this blank, which means really focusing in and pressing this metal down against the shoulder of the wooden chuck, so that as soon as it's seated on there, then it can't spin off. Now, if you're really, really worried about like the disc flying off and knocking your tooth out and everything like that, 99% of the times, if this blank even comes out, it either drops or it goes that way. So it's really, those guys are just like idiots in the shop. They're really, they're not, well no, I mean they're doing it every day. They're not really having respect for the process of materials anymore, and so hate to knock